Welcome, Dharmendra. Welcome to this first series of podcast. You are our first guest and a very eminent one, and a dear friend, of course. So this is my privilege to host you on this podcast. So I'll just brief you about how we want to do this podcast and why this concept came to our mind. So of course, as we know, आजकल हर कुछ रील पे है, everything wants on the shorts. So when we go and talk to the factories, we can reach a very small amount of people. So we thought, why not serve the industry by engaging in some meaningful conversation with industry experts. And hence we've been associated with you for the last 2 decades. I still remember the Orient Craft days. You had a lot of hair and by then. Nevertheless, and a lean body. So now you're a marathon runner. So Dharmendra is our eminent guest today, and he has a 2-decade experience working in the industry. He has been from Orient Fashion to Wellspun, and then Pyoganam, and then now Senior Vice President in Paramount. So I have known him all through the years. We have been in touch, which is making our relation that much more deep and reliable. So I really, really welcome you on this first series of podcasts, so that we can engage in some meaningful conversation for the industry today. Thank you so much for actually accepting this invitation and coming all the way through for this session.
Thank you.
So I would like you to please talk a little bit more about yourself, so that our audience can know more about you. And please.
Thank you so much, Sunaina, and I'm privileged and feeling proud that you remember me and you thought of having this discussion with me. So I'll start with I did my engineering from NIT Jalandhar in 2003, and then I joined Orient Fashion as a GT. You can say I started as an industrial engineer.
Sure.
Then in last 20 years, I have worked as a consultant. I have worked as a plant head. I have worked at a very senior positions. I have worked as a VP. Currently also I'm working as a senior vice president with Paramount.
Sure.
And while working, I completed my MBA. I did my green belt and black belt in Six Sigma.
You've been doing a lot of learning. You've been doing a lot of studying.
I kept that learning.
Right. No, that's something I think in our industry there are very few people who are really educated. You're one of them for sure.
Yeah. So normally what people talks about that they don't get time in textile industry. But somehow I found time for, because I give priority to that.
That's one of the questions I wanted to ask you. In our industry, how do you educate yourself along with work?
See, I feel, if you don't do that, if you don't upgrade your skills and all, you will be outdated.
Sure.
Somewhere we keep updating our softwares
but
also.
The pressures of shipments and deliveries are very high at your position.
See, if you have priority, if you set your priority, you have to go for something, you will be finding it out.
Sure. Particularly this IIM thing was all offline or?
IIM is both offline and online.
Okay. So you had to take off from the work.
Yeah.
Okay.
So mostly it is Saturday, Sunday, you can say that.
Right. Okay. That's great. Yeah. Weekend programs. Yeah.
So I thought the digital transformation is hot now.
Of course.
So I went for data science from IIM just to understand the base, how this is going to help our industry in terms of digital platforms.
And you've been able to implement these in your own environment?
We have done a lot of development in terms of digital, you can say. Our complete QMS is eQMS, you can say.
Right.
So complete MIS is on the digital platform. We don't work on Excels and all.
That's as a result of your data science.
And that helps us, for we have multiple factories. So you need one platform to access all the MIS.
Right.
So that is helping us a lot in terms of understanding the performance of the factories. Sure. What are the areas where we have to focus more?
Of course.
So that is how we have developed a lot of platforms on.
Okay, so as you know, the journey of the apparel industry recently, and like you said, the paradigm shifts have been happening, and the change management, the orders becoming very, very short, the changing expectations of the brands, and the role of technology, particularly the digitization part. The list is long. But if you if you could briefly walk through how the industry has coped up, with all the recent shifts, and and what is the key input throughout the journey, that the industry as a whole in the past decade, what do you think how the industry has, coped up with all the changes, and how it's going to do in the future,
So since we know each other from last 20 years,
Right.
we have seen lot of ups and
Sure,
downs,
yeah.
for sure. And the major changes which I feel where the industry have moved is, earlier it used to be suppliers market.
Right.
20 years back, you make anything, there were penalty of buyers they used to take.
Right.
Now it is buyers market. So it is now everybody has to they have to meet buyers expectations in terms of designs, in terms of faster deliveries, in terms of costings.
Yeah.
It has become very sharp.
Sure. Yeah.
So
I think with online auctions and
online
stuff
auctions,
like that,
online
right.
sales and all, earlier there used to be offline stores. Now they have online stores. So the major change you can say in terms of digital, there's a lot of changes which has happened in
Right.
last 20 years. We never used to use any say dashboard or any tool on the shop floor to get the data. So that is one of the major transformation you can say it has happened in the industry. The second biggest change is there is a huge demand from buyers in terms of sustainability and traceability.
Sure.
So if I talk about 20 years back, we never used to have any pressure from any
Definitely,
buyer related to that you have to go for zero liquid discharge, or you have to go for power saving, or you have to go for sustainability initiatives.
Right.
But in past 20 years, if you see now, if
I
buyers
think past 5 years.
past
I
5
mean,
years,
yeah.
past 5 years you can say. So there is a lot of focus.
Right.
Every brand is committed for sustainability,
Sure.
and they want their suppliers also to follow the same, so that they can meet their commitments and all.
Right.
So for manufacturers, like I'll say for us, the biggest change is earlier the more focus was only on quality production,
Right.
and cost, designs.
Sure.
But now 50% of the focus, like you can say, now the buyers have a very transparent method of rating any supplier. So earlier people used to think like, I have a good relation with this buyer, I'll get an order.
Yeah.
But now it is not working. So if you don't
You've got to perform
yeah,
on
you have
the
to
ground,
perform.
yeah.
And you have to perform on a scale of say 100 or maybe 10. So 5 point goes for these initiatives.
Wow.
So that is one of
That's
the major.
a lot, huh?
That's a lot.
That's
a
a
lot.
lot.
In fact, we see, and based on your rating, you get an order. All the order allocations are happening based on your scoring.
ESG rating.
On your scoring card.
Right.
And they have a very, you can say very transparent system.
Is this with all the brands, or like only very
Most of
selected
the
few have
most of the big brands like H&M have a very good.
Of course, H&M is the
H&M
leader.
have,
Yeah.
Inditex, Zara have.
Zara, of course.
So
Yeah.
Cabby have. It's like lot of you talk any big brand, they have their own supplier evaluation system.
Sure.
And they give you rating in terms of costings, in terms of your deliveries, in terms of your collections. They also give you rating in terms of your sustainability initiatives.
So they basically check your carbon footprints and
Every
everything.
year you can see like.
So is it an yearly thing, or is it like a quarterly, or what happens like?
It happens. They give you monthly, but if you want, they will be having interaction with you at the end of the year. So every year they grade their suppliers. They give you award also to the best suppliers. And but you can see whether you are A grade or B grade. And if they have orders, like they have got 1 million garments
to give.
To give, so they will give priority to the supplier who are A grade. So if A grade supplier have given that I have a capacity for say 50 lakhs. So they will first be filling them, and then your number comes. So this is one of the major pressure you can say, and change you can say in the industry, which has come from last 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, I think post-COVID it has been really.
And in fact, they were not having that tools also. So now a lot of digital platforms are there. They have their portals. They are connected to their stores. So they can anytime they can check your returns. They can check your performance in terms of deliveries. They can check performance in terms of your sustainability and all.
Right.
So that's a very transparent system which I developed in last 3 to 4 years, I can say.
I think that's going to drive, really the future is going to drive from the sustainability. I mean, the stats actually say that we have a like 165 billion industry, and out of which 125 is domestic and only 40 billion is the export. So that means that, domestic is 3 times larger than
Actually.
the exports. Of course, we have a lot of projections in the exports as well, but then that's what the reality is.
So this is one big reason where the tier 2 is not ready to accept it. And tier 1, like if we are only into exports, so we are not left with any other option. If we need orders, we have to go for it.
But I see a lot of shift in the terms of when the exporter is also going to domestic. Is that because of this?
I mean, there are 2-3 things now. So if you have to be on the top in terms in rating in terms of the buyers and all, you have to do a lot of work.
Right.
So going to domestic is an easy way to get a business. Being competitive and meeting the brand's requirement is a bit tough.
Yeah.
So the bigger people, you can say, like Sahi is the biggest in India.
Of course.
So they are completely compliant. They don't go for domestic and all.
Right.
So beat any big company, they don't go for domestic.
And how much does it hurt your bottom line when you have to take all these initiatives? How much additional overhead it is? Of course, it comes at a cost.
It's a mindset
well.
actually.
It's a mindset.
It's more of a mindset. It's less of an investment, So it is more of a mindset.
Of course, there will be pros and cons both, because you will have to be energy efficient. You'll have to be sustainable.
You have to
so
do
you'll
some
gain a lot of that as well. Yeah. Sure. So and ultimately being sustainable definitely I think is beneficial and more profitable. So you've been working with H&Ms, you've been working with probably Zara as well, and you feel H&M is the leader, right, in terms of this brand and sustainability aspects. I have if we also talk about global economy, let's the businesses, if you see in November, saw an upside, but last year particularly the business has been quite low with a lot of factories. We've been working in Bangladesh, business was down by 40% at one stage, and of course we have our own lean season periods, but apart from that also the business was very very down because of all the global economy factors. We have had Russia, Ukraine, we've had Israel, Palestine. The brands had a lot of inventory stocks and they reduced the buying and all. And I met a lot of owners who tell me that the visibility is like only 3 to 4 months now from the brands, and all these global economies. There are a few, Europe going into recession or some news, of course, a lot of news about that. How is that going to, how do you think factories are going to pace, themselves in the future? Because what is going to happen is, of course, this year was not too great, but everybody is very positive that it will, take turns and we will have a lot of business, and by 2030 our exports are going to be doubled. Like that. So what do you feel about this? What's your take on this? Global economy versus apparel industry versus, all the changes that industry is going through. What do you think?
See, the orders have shrunk. There is no doubt about it.
Okay.
Because the stores has been closed, like H&M have closed their stores in, say, Russia and Ukraine.
Right.
So, but I'll say the business is there, but business have shift. There is a lot of shift in the business. So if you need to be flexible and you need to be ready what is expected from the brand. So as I said, this is all about this is buyer's market right now. So if somebody is not able to meet their demands, they are out of the game.
Yeah.
So there is a high competition. Business for good people, business is there. If you talk about Sai, they are fully they are full. We are full for 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah. So business is there, but there is a very selective business, and the biggest change is they have reduced the quantities. Most of the buyers have reduced their quantities. They need more varieties now. Suppose previously we used to get one style, say 1 million garment.
Right.
Now you get 15 styles in 1 million garment.
Wow.
So that's the shift.
So now the varieties
are more.
And that's because of consumers
probably because there is a drastic reduction in terms of quantities, you can say. And that is impacting the cost, because once you have a 1 million garment,
of course,
you run it for 3 or 4 months, your costings will be different.
Right.
And once you have a run of say 10 days, your costings will be different.
Of course.
So also there are also I told you, like sustainability initiative, there are a lot of suppliers in India who are not ready to do that. So they're out of the game. So they have to understand how the business is getting allocated from the brands. So if you're ready for it,
a lot of them might be very confused in the sense.
A lot of people are confused also because they calculate in terms of if I'm investing this much, how much I'll be getting a return.
Like I was asking you.
But that's not. I told you that's the mindset.
Not how you look at
it. That's
yeah.
We are not looking at this.
Yeah,
we are looking at in a different angle. If we have to be in the business, and at the top, at the top position, then we have to follow what
there's no way out.
There's no way out.
Right.
There's
no way out, and this is the only way, and that's it. My way or highway kind of brands.
Actually, they are going in that way, and they are very, very strict also. If they give you an order and they say this is an organic order, and if somehow you miss this order and you do something and you are not able to supply it, they will just reject. They will just stop the business with you.
Yeah, because this traceability is becoming a very, very big element of success, I would say.
So they're tracking everything. They are tracking CO2 emission per garment. They're tracking each and everything which is impacting the environment.
Right.
So you need to be ready for it. So most of what I see, the suppliers who are ready for the change, who are accepting it, who are working on it, they have orders. Trust me.
Okay.
So they have orders. Like we also have a good.
So it's just that you have to pace yourself with the time, with the demands of today's requirement of the brands, and then you are in game basically.
And also there is a lot of shift in terms of the styling. Earlier we used to do a lot of ladies. Now there was a very less kids. So suddenly we got a requirement for say 40% of the business is kids now.
Wow.
So there is a shift. So if we are not ready for it, so many suppliers will say we don't have expertise in kids, we will not be doing. So there is no option you have. You have to do it or you have to leave it.
Right.
You have seen in COVID also, like India
the comfort wear was like everybody.
We were not knowing what is PP kit.
Right, we didn't know anything else at all.
And within a month's time, we built
everybody
up a
was
capacity
just making
to do
it,
that.
Right. And we were the second largest manufacturer in the world.
And there are a lot of suppliers who lost the orders also in that time because they were not ready for it.
Right.
So they did it very slow. I mean, they took 4 months to understand what is PP kit. There are suppliers in India who started within 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, I think the flexibility and the adaptability
is more important.
Yeah, it's very, very
So this is what is happening. They are changing, they are demanding. If we don't understand them, we'll be losing orders.
And how far do they educate you in terms of, what need? Because I assume there are very few ESG experts in the industry. Because, of course, if you see in India education system, there has not been any courses specializing into an ESG expert. Now there are a lot of IITs offering environmentalist and all those, BTech courses are coming. A lot of colleges are now developing it. But currently, with so much of demand of this profile, how do you guys manage it, or how the industries,
See, they help you to understand the requirements. And there are agencies, like now there are a lot of agencies are there who are expert in this. And you call them, they do these,
evaluation.
They do the evaluation, they find out the gaps, and they help you how you can build up your factories to meet the requirements.
So there is sufficient number of people who can
if you look for.
Right. Yeah, I think वो कहते हैं ना कि ढूंढने से भगवान भी मिल जाते हैं. बिल्कुल.
Even Leeds जो है US institute जो green की certifications है, they are giving to a lot of people. There are a lot of trained people in India now who is certified from Leeds for conducting the audits.
Right. But somebody who's trained from US might be very expensive also for the factories. But again, you have to do it.
You have to do it.
Right. To another point that I really wanted to discuss with you, since I have the opportunity to have you, is basically, the fair wage war. And it has been a while that we've seen a lot of it happening in Bangladesh, where there was a lot of agitation between the workers, and there was they wanted their wages to be raised by at least 200%, and finally it's been settled at 56%. And it's not just Bangladesh, it could happen in India also. The government wants to have the minimum wages by 20,000 rupees in the coming years. Even in all the countries wherever industry is, this industry has been bread and butter of the poor. So as India becomes a Viksit Bharat, our wages are going to go up.
True.
As we know. So, what do you think? Because is this the solution? How do you think we need to move forward, and be competitive? Because we feel we will, as you know, we've always sold efficiency solutions, and we feel that, efficiencies or performance-linked incentives are the way forward. And I feel that, just raising a fair wage. Of course, you have to ensure the fair wage, but then it's very important that we have the efficiencies
True.
in place.
True.
What is your take on it?
See, in fact, Delhi have reached around 18,000
Yeah, exactly.
right now. So a lot of people have moved up from Delhi because they had an option in the other
Right.
locations. But if we talk about the Bangladesh, increasing the salary will not help them to increase the efficiency. So the only option they have left is they have to work on their efficiencies, and they have to work on their, trainings and all, developing the peoples. They have to work on the automations, how they can reduce the SAM values and all, and how they can build up the efficiency. See, I have seen a factory where the wage is, say, 10,000 rupees, but the cost per minute is around 7 rupees.
Wow.
And there's another factory, same cost, but the cost per minute is around, say, 5.5. So it depends. If you are working at 55% efficiency, your costings will be something else. If you are working at 40% efficiency, even though your cost is low, your cost per minute will be higher.
Yeah.
So I think the time has come where everyone have to start working on their efficiencies. They have to start working on linking the earning with as you said, like the production incentives and all. So everyone knows that if you will perform, you will be getting more. If you don't perform, you won't get more.
Yeah.
So I think that is going to play a very major role.
And along with the efficiency, I've always felt the supply chain. Our supply chains have to be really strengthened, because
I will give you a very good example. I did a lot of studies.
Right.
Why the efficiencies are low, why the costing is high and all. And whenever I start a study for any project, like you say, you give me, I have to increase the efficiency.
Sure.
So, I take up the data based on what are the different bottlenecks you have which is stopping you to go up in the efficiency.
To achieve that peak level, yeah.
And most of the time, the biggest reason for low efficiency is your supply chain.
Exactly.
You don't get feeding.
Because that's the major stumbling block there. Right. Because we always, Roger used to say, what is your input efficiency?
True.
What, not your output, but what is your input efficiency? If
efficiency.
you're inputting at 50%, you can never expect more than 45.
True.
But if you're inputting at 80, you can expect 75. That's.
I'm in 100% agreement.
Right.
And I also feel that the biggest bottleneck in India is the infrastructure of supply chain.
And how is that side of the line is gearing up with the changes?
See,
do you see an improvement, or do you see a shift there with the
not exactly the bigger peoples, like who have who can fund, they're going for their own mills. So most of the biggest, like you can talk in terms of Sahi and all. So whoever have gone high in efficiency, they have their own vertical integration.
Yeah.
Be it Welspun, be it Trident, be it Sahi.
Yeah, but those are very big.
Very big.
I mean, 90% of the industry is not there.
So because the tier 2 is not ready to support,
most
of the time they have challenges.
So ultimately, because that's what is going to impact the industry, and in a very big way, if we do not have, because I was talking to again another person who was the MD in Noida, and his main concern was, Sunaina, you do operational excellence, and that's like 15-20% of my cost.
True.
And I am dependent. 80% of my things are dependent on external factors, vendors. So do something with that. So of course, I cannot strengthen the supply chain, but at the same time, we need to actually think very deeply, because the reliable suppliers, if the brands are actually doing a lot of pressure on you guys, what are the brands actually doing on that side? Any ideas?
They're not going directly to them.
They're not going.
So they are asking us only that you have to go, if you want any supply chain, you have to ask them to be ready with the compliance requirements and the setup requirements. So we do audit. We audit them, and then we offer.
Are you as strict with them as buyers are with you?
I mean, to be very open, we cannot be, because it's a monopoly market right now.
Right.
So, but of course, we ask them because we share a good relation with them.
Sure.
So if we ask them, they say, okay, sir, we want to go with it. So we educate them. We offer them to the brands Brands do the audit.
Okay.
And if you talk about us, approximately 80 to 90% of our tier 2 we have got it
You've
approved
got
from
it
the
done.
brands. Yeah.
Okay.
So we are helping them. Like our
Right,
people are going to their factories, they train their staff, they make their SOPs and all. We do their audit. We
Okay.
give that audit report to brands, and they do their audit. So it is happening, but I think it's a very slow process.
The
may
rate
take
at
some
which
time.
it's happening
Yeah,
is
yeah.
not. If we talk about the growth and projection of the Indian apparel industry, and as per the latest reports, we say by 2030, FICCI has released a report that, as I was telling you, that the domestic market size is 125 and 40 billion exports, and we are expecting a 10% CAGR, and the industry will go 350 billion. So everything, the government has taken a numerous, schemes to of course promote our industry, particularly the PLIs for MMF and for technical textiles is there. There's a big boost on that. There's PM, textile Mitra at parks are there, and then there are SITPs. So there's a lot of initiatives that government has taken. All of these. So what is your take on all these? Do you think these schemes are a real booster, or do we need anything else from the policymakers? What do you
see?
what do
I'll
you
tell
think?
you, just as we spoke, like supply chain is going to play a
Right.
very major role. So
Right.
that's going to be one of the big constraints when we talk these numbers. Like
Yeah.
if we want it by 2030, if
2030, yeah.
if we want to see these numbers,
Right.
we need a big change in terms of supply chain infrastructure.
Capacities, yeah.
We need a double of a size, say, skilled manpower. That is going to be a big challenge. So I think government is giving a lot of schemes to develop these manufacturing units
Right.
and all, and in the remote locations basically they're giving a lot of advantage.
Okay.
If you give employment to any fresh candidate who have never worked,
Right.
will be getting more benefits. But they have to first work on the first step. Like they have to start from the spinning mills. They have to start from the
Right, where the
weaving
value chain
mills.
starts.
Yeah. So I think the focus should be more there. Developing garment manufacturing won't be a much challenge.
Right.
So I think we should be focused. They should be focusing more there.
Right from the farms.
From
I
the
think
farms,
to make
yeah.
your farm organic.
True,
What are the
true.
incentives there?
Because a lot of people are setting up. We just like everyone have a setup, good setup. But you need a fabric, like
Right.
that's the most important part.
Sure.
So I think the focus should be first there, first 2-3 years. Rest,
Yeah.
Rest can be easily developed.
So a fair bit needs to go
Yeah.
into the back end of the
True.
supply chain,
Backward-
where we can
backward integration.
compete with the thing. To our next this thing, which is a success mantra, and I would, of course, you have already thrown a lot of insight into what is the success mantra. But I think what we want to do is, what are the key drivers behind Mr. Dharmendra that we know?
As I told you, I kept learning. So I'll advise everyone,
Right.
you shouldn't stop your learning.
Definitely,
first.
yeah.
So that is very, very important, because I have seen a lot of my friends, lot of my colleagues. At some moment of time, they stop learning. They say, I have reached a stage where I don't need to learn.
Yeah.
So they, there you stop.
Sure, of
growing.
course. The moment you
So
stop
that is
learning.
most important, that you should keep learning.
Right.
You should be open to change, because that is what we
Definitely.
discussed.
That's the only constant, right.
Industry, there are a lot of people, they are seeing industry is growing. There are a lot of people seeing this industry will never grow.
Right.
So it's all depend on if you are ready to accept the challenge, if you are ready to accept the change, if you are ready to accept what your brand is expecting from you, you will be growing.
Right.
So that is.
I think it's always the customer is the key. The customer is the key. Yeah?
So you need to understand where they are going,
Like
where they
in
want.
Lean, we say, we just have to be customer centric and.
So it happens in any business actually. If you don't listen to that, you'll be out of the game.
Sure.
Same like a Nokia happened.
Right, exactly.
So they're the biggest example. If you don't listen to your customer, you'll be out of the game.
It's a funny you do Nokia example, because every time we train people, and that's the first story we tell, because we want to open their minds for change, and we want to tell them that, do you want to become like Nokia, or do you want to become, we always say creators, followers, and changed by force. So you've got to be in the creators category, so that you can drive the change. Unless you change or open yourself to change, you can never succeed anywhere.
And the most important is, like, you have to have patience, like, so if you see everything in terms of like, if I go for this sustainability, how much orders I will get, you won't get it. You have to do it, you have to wait, you will get it. So you need to have patience, and you need to understand your customer's voice. Definitely, things will be in a good direction.
Right. So your message to people who are trying to become better and more efficient and more productive and more sustainable.
So if you talk about me, I mean, I'll say that there is no alternate to hard work. You have to work very hard.
Yeah.
And you have to be very focused, like what exactly you are looking from you. You shouldn't be comparing yourself with anyone. You should be comparing yourself with
you are the only
you only.
You are your own benchmark.
True. And in terms of say goals, like normally I see people set a goal. I have to raise these $1 million and all.
Right.
So there are 3-4 areas you have to set your goals. You have to set your goals in terms of your career. You have to set your goals in terms of your health. Your health is not good. You won't be able to achieve it. Yeah. You have to set your goals in terms of your family also, like how you are going to
the work-life
balance and all. So these are the 3 areas where you should be setting up a goal in terms of say you need to be at this. You are here. You want to be here in next say 6 months, and every day, every month you have to do something about it, so that you can reach, you can meet all the goals.
And talking about, so talking about the entrepreneurs that we have, how well they are doing in terms of doing all these changes in themselves, in the factories and all. How are they taking it up?
See, I'll say this is the 3rd generation which I took up, and they are very open. And
on all these goals,
all these goals.
Yeah.
So one thing I would like to tell them is they have to they have to believe people, and they have to work on developing people. You cannot do everything.
Sure.
So if you are handling a business of say 1,000 crores, and there are a lot of transactions you have to handle. So this is one area which I always feel Indian industry, Indian owners they think I'll be doing everything myself. So that's the biggest constraint I feel, that definitely. They have to start believing people, they have to start delegating people, and they have to start training people.
Right.
So if you do that, and if you have a team, you can.
Of course, people are the biggest.
You don't even know where you can reach actually.
Right. Of course, definitely. So, Dharmendra, you also have been our privileged customer. You have been using SMV, and I've been pushing you for others, but nevertheless, how's your experience with Pro SMV, and how do you think it has helped?
See, I mean, I'll tell you, we took, I think, 3 years to implement it.
Yeah.
And the biggest reason we were, what was stopping us is like, we want to understand how the SAM will be reduced.
Sure.
So we even gave you some garments also to study and all, and we did our study and all.
Yeah.
So at the end, we understood that unless until we define the process, we will not be able to achieve the excellence.
Yeah.
So we implemented, and I can say we have reduced our SAM by say approximately 8 to 10%. 10%. And that's a huge number for us actually.
Right. Of course, that's.
So I mean, now all the factories, all the styles we are working on Pro SMB only.
That's great.
We took 1.5 years, and it's not like only the calculation, SAM calculation.
Sure.
It's
Definitely.
also to understand the motions. It also like we took time only because we trained our peoples in those motions.
Right.
So that is very important.
Sure.
It's like you only calculate a SAM value and
That's
say you have to achieve
it.
That's not enough. You have to reach each and every operator and train them and make them understand how you can reach this.
As we always say, the name of the game is changing the method on the floor. It's not on the software.
Actually.
So definitely, otherwise you cannot bring changes.
We have around 3,500 workers.
Yeah.
So we took approximately 1 year to train them.
Right.
But yes, we have reduced our SAM by 8 to 10%.
Okay, great. And we have been training a lot of your supervisors as well. And I still 5 factories are left. We've trained almost 60, so I expect more.
See, what happens like if you don't train them,
right?
So you cannot expect results from them.
Right.
So the first step is like, if we have set certain goals, so we know how to reach there.
Of course.
So training is one of the biggest factor over there. And of course, the supervisors who are trained in Pro SMB and all, and in handling the work.
And the supervisor training that we did
they
for
can
1 month.
easily correlate.
Right.
So if we give them SAM, they now they come to us like, sir, we know these codes and all. We understand how this will be achieved and all. Right. So if somebody is trained, somebody is not trained, the biggest difference is, if you are not trained.
The mind.
In the mind and all.
Yeah.
I think it is adding a
does
lot of
not
value.
get open. So, I mean, there are a lot of emphasis is there on the ESG. As you know, there's brands and everybody talking. If you actually open LinkedIn, whether it is our industry or any industry, everywhere ESG is something which is, people are going crazy about it, because the government is focusing on it, the policymakers are focusing
Brands
on
are
it, the
focusing.
UN is focusing on it, brands are focusing on it. So everybody is going on and all about these things. How do you feel this ESG whole aspect, how do you link it with efficiency? Would be if we become more efficient, would we be better off with ESG, compliance?
See, of course, if you are better in terms of efficiency, you utilize the resources in a much better way.
Right.
So same energy, you will be producing more garments.
Right.
So if you are not efficient, you will consume more energy.
Right.
And you will be producing less. So
I specifically wanted that because some people might think that ESG is totally a different, thing than efficiency. So we just wanted to bring this to the audience that, how both of them are correlated in a way.
So I'll give you a small example. Like if you go for a water saving, right? So if you are, you need in a garment industry, you need around 20k liter or 25k liter water every day for your washing a garment. So if you go for energy efficient tools like ZLD, you go for ZLD, you go for any device that can refine your water and all.
Right.
So the same work you can do with 5k liter of water. So that is one saving, like you're saving water.
Yeah, bigger.
So that is one kind of saving you can say. If you go for energy efficient electricity arrangement and all,
right.
So you will be consuming less electricity with the same production level.
Right.
So that is one area,
Yeah, that's what we've been also, when we also put our live systems, we say that, okay, if you trace everything and you, let's say maintenance, if you trace every maintenance breakdown, you are reducing the breakdown time, you're increasing your idle time, ultimately it's going to
there's one more saving I'll say. If you go for a digital platforms and all, you don't need papers.
Right.
You can see your status on your phone and all.
So
that is also adding a lot of
energy saving.